For taking pictures in a museum, it's really quite simple to set up the camera. There are really just a couple things you need to keep in mind. In a museum, you can't use the flash. So with the flash turned off, keep the flash down, you're going to need to increase the ISO in order to compensate for the lack of light. So use the program mode. Set your mode dial to P for program so you can control the ISO. Press the ISO button or the up navigation button right here and increase the ISO. Now you don't know yet what you want to increase the ISO to. Go ahead and press set with the ISO at about 1600. And now press the shutter button halfway and make sure that your shutter speed is fast enough to handhold the shot, which means a shutter speed of about 1/30th of a second. So here instead of 800, you'll see 30. If it's any slower than that, then you want to increase the ISO even more. If it's too high, like mine for example is right now at 800, that's much too high, I want to decrease the ISO. The reason why you want to decrease the ISO is because a higher ISO will produce a more noisy or grainy image. So you want a nice balance between enough light, allowing you to produce a fast enough shutter speed to handhold the picture, but you don't want all the noise that high ISO produces. So right now I would press the ISO button again, go down a bit to 400 let's say, press set, and try this again. Now you can see that my shutter speed is much slower. I can still handhold this shot, and I was able to maintain a 400 ISO, which will produce me a much cleaner image. With the ISO properly set, you can then go on to change the white balance. Just press the WB button right here. Move this over to tungsten. Press the right navigation button or use the dial in the front. And this will set your white balance to the incandescent lights that are used in the museum. If the museum is using a different source of light, choose the appropriate setting, but I know that most of them use tungsten. So go ahead and press set. Now your ISO is properly set, your white balance is properly set, and you can go ahead and freely take pictures. Again, remember, just as with every picture, make sure the focusing brackets are centered over your subject. Press the shutter button halfway to lock focus on that target. Recompose the image with the shutter button pressed halfway, and then press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the picture. To find out much more about digital photography and your digital camera, go to lbguides.com.